Hello, America. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to my review of Married at First Sight, Season 9, Episode whatever. Yes, I just woke up. This is why I look like this. If you got a problem with it, turn the video off now. Because if you say something, I'm going to drag your ass, okay? Let's go from good to progressively worse. So we see Deanna and Greg. Deanna got sick and she was embarrassed to be around Greg because, she had a lot of sickness going on. Greg says that they did indeed have the sexual relations on his birthday, but since then she's been sick. Greg says that he'll take care of her even though she may not want him to. And they get an exercise to play a game called Suits, where like diamonds are compliments and spades are like hearts are kisses. Spades might be hold hands, and clubs or something else. Okay, I can't remember everything. But she gives him 10 compliments, and that makes him feel very, very, very good. Deanna says that he is knocking down her boundaries. And Greg says, okay, well, like, after they play the game or whatever, Greg is like, okay, so I just want to know, like, what triggered the sex. And she was like, we was just living in the moment. I really liked how you were with your friends and how you just weren't overthinking things and you was just living life. And, things will come, things will go, things are just happening. And he's like, well, do you have like a list of things that turn you on? And she's like, no, I don't have a list of things that turn me on. It's just whatever happens, happens. And he's like, so if we have sex every other month, would that be okay with you? And she's like, yeah. Just that one time that we have sex would be like mind blowing. And he's like, I don't know if I can deal with that. Well, stop bringing it up. How about that? Anyway, that's the end of their story. Honestly, they looking like the most stable couple out here. Keith and Iris are stable, but Deanna and Greg, completely, like, I ain't even seen them get mad at one another. Probably next week they're gonna get mad at one another and it's gonna be horrible. But anyway, moving on. We see Keith and Iris, if I can find her. Keith's grandmother passed away, and he's happy that, he's sad, but he's happy that she was able to see him get married and meet Iris, but overall it's a tough time for him. Keith thanks Iris for being there, and Iris says that she's there to support him in any way. Keith says that it feels good that Iris has his back, and for their exercise, they answer fishbowl questions. The thing might be moving because my knee is on my computer is on my chair. So they play the game. The first question, they have to hold hands for the duration of the game, and then they're asking questions, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the questions because it's not that big of a deal. But one of the questions was, what's your favorite sexual position? So she's like, I obviously don't have a favorite sexual position. He says what his favorite sexual position is. And she starts to get uncomfortable. And he's like, why are you getting so uncomfortable? And then the next question was, how would you want me to initiate sex? And she gets like uncomfortable, and she's just like, I don't really know. And in her confessional, she's like, in Keith's confessional, he's like, it seems like not just she's a virgin, but like she lacks a little bit of sexual maturity to talk about these situations, and I don't need her to be cringing and stuff, considering the fact that we two adults and these are things that we need to talk about. Iris says in her confessional that sexuality and sexual behavior is a big thing for Keith, and this is something that she can't change about herself. But it is something that you can change about yourself. So that was kind of weird for her to say. But I was reading some of the comments on Twitter, and they were like, well, maybe she's had like a traumatic sexual experience, considering like the way she broke down and stuff, and like was crying. I don't know, because I was very confused as to why she started crying, but maybe she was uncomfortable with the cameras being there, and maybe this was something that she wouldn't have felt as like exposed talking about alone. So they go out to eat, and she says that the fishbowl exercise wasn't too good for her because she wasn't in the right mental space. He says that he wasn't either. She says that she doesn't want to feel like his needs aren't being met, and he says that he wants someone who is sexually mature. And he asks her, on a scale of 1 to 10, how emotionally mature are you? She says about a 6.5, and she wants to know if her virginity is a negative. He says that it's a concern, and she says, is it a negative concern? And he says it's just a concern. And she says that this makes her heart sink because it may influence his decision. And I don't think that you being a virgin would influence his decision. I think the fact that you can't even, that it seemed as though you couldn't even have a conversation about sex without feeling, you know, like shaky and scared, you know. I think that might influence his decision because, okay, oh, I'm sorry. Because, I mean, like, you can be a virgin, but, like, if we can't even talk about sex, if I don't even know how the sex is going to be initiated or, like, what you like, because she said that she's never just had sexual intercourse, that she's done sexual things. So I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Who is, I'm trying to figure it out. Damn. Who is more worse, Jamie and Elizabeth or Matt and Amber? We're gonna go with Jamie and Elizabeth and then round it all out with Matt and Amber. So Jamie says that if it wasn't for Dr. Pepper coming over, he wouldn't even be there because he didn't spend the night last night. Dr. Pepper comes in and she's like, okay, let's cut the bullshit. Obviously, I've seen the tapes. Obviously, I know what's going on. What the hell is going on? She says, before we do anything, I want to like try to clear the tension in the room. So I want to ask both of you what you like about one another. Elizabeth says that she doesn't even know what she like about this man because he told her that he wanted to get a divorce. Jamie says that he really doesn't want a divorce. And Dr. Pepper says, well, you both need to have boundaries about the way that you talk to one another. And they're going to have to take responsibility for what they said to one another. So Jamie apologizes for saying that he wants a divorce, but he feels like he's at his wit's end. She talks to Dr. Pepper. Elizabeth talks to Dr. Pepper by herself, and Dr. Pepper was like, okay, so what is this? What is this basic Caucasian sex that you was talking about? And Elizabeth says she only said that because Jamie made it seem like they had intimacy issues when they've been having a lot of sex, and she felt like she was getting a UTI because of all the sex that they were having. And when it felt like that wasn't being, the reason why she didn't want to have sex with him wasn't being taken into consideration, and he just heard, I don't want to have sex with you, you see. So then Dr. Pepper talks to Jamie. Jamie says that he just wants resolution about what hurts him. And Dr. Pepper says that that's cool, but you can't talk about things that happened in the past. If things that if she got mad at you on the honeymoon, you can't bring that up. You have to bring up things that happen now, today, because if you bring up things in the past, it'll just make it seem not useless but hopeless. Dr. Pepper says that they both need to be kinder to one another. And then we see them again. They had another argument. They were out walking with the dogs. She told him that maybe they should put sex on the back burner so they can get to know each other a little bit more. And he got angry and he was like dragging her dogs. And I didn't like it didn't register to me with me when I seen the episode, but when I was on Twitter, it was like, okay, you were mistreating the dogs, but the dogs hopped up on Jamie's lap. Like, both of the dogs were just sitting on Jamie's lap, and I'm just like, these don't look like dogs that were mistreated. And I mean, that makes sense. It does. It really does. She gets her stuff and she says that she wants to go home. He's like, well, you know, Dr. Pepper said not to go home. And she's like, I don't give a fuck. She says, I've never had anyone question my character. And he says that if you leave, we're done. And she's like, no, the fuck we not. What are you, the done police? And he was like, yeah, I am. And she's like, okay, whatever. I need my own space. You need your own space, okay? So he says he just wants a little bit of compassion. And she said, what the fuck? You didn't give me compassion when I told you I had a UTI, and that's the reason why I wanted to stop sex. And he was like, but it seems like sex is the only thing that we really getting right. And she says that she feels like a sex machine and she doesn't have very much to communicate. And he's like, well, if you leave, we're done. And she's like, I really would love to go to my house without you having to tell me, without you saying, if I leave, then we not going to be together. And we going to get a divorce, whatever. That's annoying. She says that she needs her own space. She says you can pick a bedroom, pick whatever. Just don't bother me. And he's like, well, I'm going to need to. I'm sorry, I keep moving the camera. He's like, well, I'm going to need to brush my teeth and change my clothes. She got his toothbrush and the toothpaste, put it on the kitchen table, and said, no, you don't. You don't need to change your clothes. You sleep in your underwear anyway. Closed the door and said, don't mess with me, okay? Okay? Then the next day, she got up and she was like, okay, I'm going to my house. And he was like, I thought we wasn't. And she was like, look, I stayed here last night. I would like to go to my house and just be in a safe space. Then she says some stuff. I can't remember what she said, but Jamie says that he's willing to try and move on, you know, but they're going to need to set some boundaries. And then she sits down and she talks to him, and now she's staying, and now they hope not to fight like that anymore. So they have the blind trust exercise where they put on blindfolds and put sticky notes on their body and ask each other questions. But the purpose of the exercise is to not be intimidated by people's body language or facial expressions. So he says, what is your biggest fear about the marriage? She says on decision day that he'll ask for a divorce. And then there was some other stuff that really didn't mean nothing. Then the last thing we see of them is she is doing a full moon practice. I can't remember what it's called, but they did meditation. They had moon water outside with some minimum. Only thing I can't do is I think, you know, this would be nice. The full moon starts a new cycle. That's beautiful. Literally, like, you know, beautiful. You be in line with yourself. You be calm. That stuff is real. But the only thing I can't do is drink that damn water. You had that water outside. I know for a fact it's going to be a damn bug in that water. And I can't. I just can't. But anyway, Jamie says that he really likes this calm, cool lady that Elizabeth is when she's meditating, and this calm demeanor. And yeah, that's the end of their story. You know, it's, I don't know, they be arguing a lot, but At least he ain't go out and take his wedding ring off. Anyway, so we see Amber. Amber says that Matt still isn't home and it's 2 p.m. the next day. And she didn't go to work. And she looked in his drawer and she found his wedding ring. Amber hopes that he comes home. And she just doesn't feel like she's in a marriage. So Matt comes home, and I swear when Matt came home, it was dark. It was like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. They didn't say what time it was, but outside it looked dark. Okay. Matt comes in and he says, "Sup. Sup. You mean kill me. You absolutely just are fucking pathetic, ain't you?" He says, "Sup." And he knows that, well, he says that he knows she's not in a good mood, so let's talk about it. Matt says that he didn't have plans for anything, it just happened. And Amber was like, okay, yeah, whatever. But why did you take your ring off? He said he took his ring off to work out and he never put it back on. And Amber was like, okay, whatever. I don't care about you hanging out. I just wanted you to communicate that to me and I wanted you to come home. And he says, okay, and that he still has some learning to do. He apologizes. He says that he cares for her and he needs better communication skills. And he has to get used to having someone else to deal with. And he said that, and Amber was like, okay. And then she started kissing him. And I'm just like, anyway. She says it was the best talk that they ever had. So Dr. Pepper comes, and Dr. Pepper is like, bitch, I'm here. Okay, what's going on? Because she videoed Dr. Pepper and was like, bro, I need some help. Matt didn't come home. So Dr. Pepper comes in, and she talks to Amber first, and she tells Amber that that she needed to have held him more accountable. And Dr. Pepper tells her to remember that she's more than enough and that she can handle it, and just not to let this nigga get away with this crap. So then she talks to Matt. And she says, you better be glad Amber loves you because that was some low down dirty ass shit. She says, you know that she has feelings of abandonment and the thing that you do is go out and be a hoe. Dumbass. Anyway, so she asks about his parents and he says that he left home at like 16 and he had been moving around a lot and blah, blah, blah. And I remember seeing something on Twitter where it was like, okay, first of all, y'all didn't ask about this before he got on the show. That's number one. But number two, I thought he had such a good relationship with his parents that only ruined when they got a divorce. Anyway, Dr. Pepper says that she's going to give him some instruction because she thinks that he's a good guy, but he just doesn't have the tools. She says never spend a motherfucking night out. Always come back home. And only time will tell if he is truly a good guy or not. Amber and Matt get the fishbowl exercise to get to know each other. He apologizes again for what he did. Amber says that she doesn't want Matt to keep feeling bad about what happened, but the apology helped her. His biggest insecurity is that in the marriage is that they'll grow apart, and hers is that it'll end in divorce and one will reject the other. So then they ask what the biggest fantasies is to one another. He says, we did all my fantasies in Antigua. And she says her fantasy is like a massage table thing. So when she comes home, he got a massage table. He then told her to change into a bathing suit and he started rubbing her. And she just feels so loved by this, and this shows her that he cares about her so much, and she can see herself falling in love with him. When I tell you childhood trauma can really have you out here feeling like a piece of shit, and enable you to take on more, or take on things that you, if you were a healthy, well-rounded person, wouldn't take on, because there is no way that man stayed out all night, didn't wear his wedding ring, didn't even call you on a fucking phone and say, yo, I'm out with my friends, blah blah blah, and then came home literally the whole next day. He was gone for like 24 hours. I don't know. Who knows if they're gonna be together, but it's looking like they won't. Anyway, if you all like this review, you can like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and everything else you need to know about me will be down below. My name is Brielle. I make beats. I sing songs. If you like what you see, come on along. Bye.